Muhammad Ali walks into a federal building in Houston, Texas, knowing his next decision will destroy everything he's built. What he does in the next 30 seconds doesn't just end his boxing career. It changes the course of American history. But first, you need to understand what led to this moment that would cost him everything. April 28th, 1967, Houston, Texas. The Federal Induction Center on San Jacinto Street. Outside, protesters chant. Inside, Muhammad Ali, the most famous athlete in the world, sits in a waiting room that smells like disinfectant and fear. At 25 years old, Ali is untouchable. Heavyweight champion of the world. 3 years undefeated. Millions in the bank. The most recognizable face on earth. But in this sterile government building, surrounded by young men headed to Vietnam, all of that means nothing. For months, the government has been hunting Ali, not because he's dangerous, but because he's influential. A black Muslim athlete who refuses to stay silent about racism, who converts to Islam and changes his name from Cassius Clay, who speaks against the Vietnam War when most athletes stay quiet about politics. The draft notice came 6 months ago. Ali's lawyers tried everything: student deferments, religious exemptions, medical reviews. The government rejected them all. They want Muhammad Ali in uniform, want him to choose between his beliefs and his career. The boxing establishment watches nervously. If Ali refuses induction, they'll strip his title, ban him from fighting, destroy everything he's worked for since he was 12 years old in Louisville. 3 days before the induction, Ali's phone rings constantly. Promoters offering him millions to just take the induction, serve quietly, come back to boxing as a war hero. Government officials suggesting he could serve safely stateside, never see combat, just wear the uniform for photos. His mother calls, crying, begging him to reconsider. Just do what they want, baby. Just come home safe. Even some civil rights leaders tell him to comply. Quietly, fight the system later when he has less to lose. But Ali's mentor, Malcolm X, taught him something before his assassination. A man who stands for nothing will fall for anything. 9:30 a.m. A military officer calls out names alphabetically. When they reach Cassius Clay, Ali doesn't move. They call it again. Cassius Clay. Silence. Then they call Muhammad Ali. Ali stands slowly. Every reporter in the room watches. Cameras click. The officer explains the induction process. Asks if Ali understands. Yes, sir. The officer leads Ali and 25 other young men to another room. They line up. The officer reads the induction oath, tells them to step forward when their name is called and say, "I do," to accept induction into the United States Army. Muhammad Ali. The room falls silent. 25 young men, dozens of reporters, military officials, everyone watching the most famous athlete in America. Ali doesn't move. Muhammad Ali. Still nothing. Ali stands straight, hands at his sides, looking directly ahead, not defiant, not angry, just absolutely still. The officer calls his name a third time. Military protocol requires 3 calls before documenting refusal. Muhammad Ali. Nothing. The silence stretches. Reporters realize what's happening. This isn't hesitation. This is refusal. After the ceremony, reporters swarm Ali. Why did you refuse? What happens now? Are you afraid of Vietnam? Ali's response becomes legendary. I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong. No Viet Cong ever called me nigger. I'm not going 10,000 miles to help murder poor people, simply to help continue the domination of white slave masters over dark people. But then he says something even more powerful. I'm giving up my title, my wealth, everything. Many great men have been willing to give up their lives. I'm only giving up my title. The reporters are stunned. This isn't just about Vietnam. This is about principle, about identity, about refusing to compromise your beliefs for money or fame. Within hours, everything begins falling apart. The New York State Athletic Commission strips Ali's boxing license. Other states follow immediately. No license means no fights anywhere in America. The World Boxing Association strips his heavyweight title, the title he earned by defeating Sonny Liston, the title he defended 9 times. Scheduled fights worth millions of dollars get canceled overnight. Promoters who promised loyalty disappear. The IRS freezes his assets, claiming unpaid taxes they'd never mentioned before. Death threats pour in. Ali needs bodyguards for the first time in his life. But the worst part? Many of his former supporters turn against him. Americans who cheered his boxing now see him as unpatriotic, a coward, a traitor. 2 months later, Ali faces trial for draft evasion. Maximum sentence, 5 years in prison, and a $10,000 fine. The government's case is simple. Ali refused legal induction, broke federal law, must be punished. Ali's defense argues religious exemption. As a Muslim minister, he has the same conscientious objector rights as Christian ministers. The law should apply equally. But in 1967 America, being a Muslim minister means nothing to most judges and juries. The trial lasts 3 days. The all-white jury deliberates for 20 minutes. 20 minutes to decide the fate of the most famous athlete in America. Guilty on all counts. For 3.5 years, Ali can't box anywhere in America. Prime years. Ages 25, 28. When most heavyweights reach their peak. To pay lawyers and support his family. Ali takes speaking engagements at colleges. Students who oppose the Vietnam War see him as a hero. But many venues cancel when local officials threaten them. The government pressures everyone. Boxing promoters who might risk an underground fight get visited by federal agents. Potential sponsors receive warnings about associating with draft evaders. Ali's weight balloons to 230 pounds, nearly 20 pounds over his fighting weight. His skills, sharpened by constant training since age 12, begin to rust. Friends abandon him. Boxing writers who once praised his talent now question his patriotism. Even some civil rights leaders distance themselves, worried about association with someone labeled unpatriotic. Public opinion on Vietnam slowly shifts. College protests grow. More Americans question the war. Suddenly, Ali's stance looks less like treason and more like early wisdom. New York boxing officials, influenced by changing public opinion and potential massive revenues, quietly begin discussions about reinstating Ali's license. In October 1970, after 3.5 years in exile, Ali gets permission to fight Jerry Quarry in Atlanta. The comeback fight draws massive attention. Will Ali still be the same fighter? Has time and inactivity destroyed his speed, his timing, his legendary confidence? Before the fight, Ali appears nervous for the first time in his career. This isn't about winning. It's about proving his sacrifice had meaning, that you can stand on principle and still achieve greatness. Round 1. Ali moves like he never left. The speed is still there, the reflexes intact. 3.5 years of exile hadn't destroyed his gifts. Round 3. Ali cuts Jerry Quarry above the left eye. The crowd erupts. This isn't just a boxer. This is a symbol, fighting for everyone who ever stood up to authority. The referee stops the fight in round 3 due to Quarry's cut. Technical knockout. Muhammad Ali. After 1,270 days in exile, Muhammad Ali is back. The crowd chants his name. Reporters who once criticized him now write about his courage, his sacrifice, his vindication. But this is just the beginning. Ali still has to reclaim his title, prove his peak years weren't wasted, show that principle and greatness can coexist. In 1971, the Supreme Court overturns Ali's conviction unanimously. The government's case collapses. Ali was right about the law, right about his religious exemption, right about everything. He goes on to reclaim the heavyweight title, defeating George Foreman in Zaire in one of the greatest upsets in sports history. More importantly, he proves that standing for your principles doesn't make you weak, it makes you stronger. The man who sacrificed everything for his beliefs becomes more beloved than ever, not just as a boxer, but as someone who showed that fame and money mean nothing if you compromise who you are. Today, Muhammad Ali is remembered as the greatest boxer of all time. But more than that, he's remembered as someone who showed that real strength isn't about what you can do to others. It's about what you're willing to sacrifice for what you believe. In a world that tells us to compromise, to take the safe path, to not rock the boat, Ali showed that some things are worth losing everything for. The question isn't whether you're strong enough to stand up to your opponents. The question is whether you're strong enough to stand up for yourself. Muhammad Ali answered that question in a federal building in Houston, Texas, when he chose principle over profit, belief over boxing, Muhammad Ali over Cassius Clay. And for 30 seconds of silence, he changed not just his life, but American history.